Well, hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and you're on misplacedstraws.com, where music comes to life. And my guest is best known as one of the most iconic voices in melodic rock through his time with the classic British band FM. But back in 2022, he teamed up with Fates Warning guitarist Jim Matheos in Kings of Mercia. The Kings are back with their second release, Battle Scars. It may even be better than that classic debut. Please welcome Steve Overland. Welcome,
Uh,
Steve.
how are you doing? You okay? It's great to be here. Great to be here.
I'm doing great. And before we get into Battle Scars, let's kind of go back a bit.
Sure.
Fates, Died in the Wool prog band, FM, a melodic rock band. They don't often intersect. So, how did you and Jim first hook up?
Well, it's a strange one, really. I had an email from there's a famous journalist in the UK called Dave Ling. He writes for Classic Rock magazine. He wrote for Sounds. He's written for Kerrang. He's very well known over here. And Jim also knows Dave from the past. Obviously, done press with him or something. And Jim had this idea to merge two styles together. He was looking for like a bluesier melodic rock singer to merge it with his kind of detuned heavy guitars that he has with Fates Warning. And
Mm.
he had this kind of idea. Didn't really know if it was going to work, but he I was at the top of that list. So basically, he contacted Dave and said, "Look, I've been trying to contact Steve Overland. Do you know him?" And he said, "Yeah, he's an old friend of mine. He sang at my wedding. You know." So basically, Dave contacted me, put me in touch with Jim. Jim ran the idea by me, and I said, "Look, Jim, I don't really know what you do. I think Fates Warning are great, but the two styles are very, very different." I said, "So send me one backing track,
Mm.
and I'll write a song to the backing track. And if it works, fantastic. If it doesn't, we've not lost too much time. It's one
Mm.
backing track."
Yeah.
So he sent me this backing track through, which was absolutely amazing. It turned out to be the song "Humankind" from the debut album.
Mm.
I took the backing track, wrote the song, the title, and the melodies and stuff, and put a vocal on it in a studio down the road from me. Sent it back, and Jim just said, It's like you've read my mind. This is exactly what I want." And he said, "I'm going to play it to my record label, Metal Blade." And he ran it past Tracy, and we got a 3 album deal on the strength of
Mm.
that one song. So it definitely worked. It definitely worked.
That it did. And now you and Jim are the core of the band, but you have a
Yeah.
pretty amazing rhythm section too. The legendary
Fairly,
Simon
fairly
Phillips
amazing.
on
Yeah.
drums, Joey Vera on bass.
Yeah.
With Were both records done remotely, or have you guys actually played together at all?
No, remotely. We've tried to get it together to shoot the videos together. It's very tough because I've just had a year on the road with FM. We started in February in South America, and I was just saying before we came on the interview, I came back from Greece last night at 2 o'clock this morning.
Mm.
I've just done another month in Europe, and it's been a very busy year for all of us. So obviously Simon is very, very busy
Mm.
playing on everybody's records if they can get him. Joey's very busy. Ahmed saying he's always doing stuff. So, but the great thing is we kind of I talk to Jim on Zoom, or me and Jim are constantly in contact about every single aspect of Kings of Mercia. So it's very much a, a collaboration in every way, shape, and form. And I'm very fortunate. I mean, Jim, when I'd written the first album in lockdown with Jim, we just got my vocals on Jim's backing track demos, and then Jim said, "Look, I've been thinking about the band, Steve, and I think I might ask Joey to do it." And I said, "Great, fantastic, if he wants to do it." And then when he came back and said, "I've managed to get Simon Phillips to play the drums," I'm like, "Really?" And then obviously from the demo stage to when they did the master bass and
Mm.
drums on the record, the first record, it just became. I, for me, it was a surprise because I wasn't in America when they did it. Jim was, I
Yeah.
wasn't, and just blew my mind. It was just
Mm.
astounding. And so that's been the main thing now with me and Jim is that Kings of Mercy have to be the band. It has to be this band. There won't be a different drummer. There won't be a different bass player because this band has kind of evolved and developed its own sound and identity. I think. So I'm very proud of it. I'm really proud of it, and it's been great fun to do.
Hmm. And Kings of Mercia in general, but I think especially with Battle Scars, it's a lot heavier than what we're used to from you. And
Yeah,
while you've done a lot of projects outside of FM, do you like this challenge of diving into something completely outside of your comfort zone and having it come out as such a success?
absolutely. I love it. It's a fresh challenge. Obviously, when Jim sends me something, some of the stuff on the new record is quite dark. Like you got
Yeah.
Aftermath, and it's very dark, and it kind of suggests what the song should be about to me. I can't write, I love you, darling, aren't you marvelous, like I can with it. I can write love songs forever for FM because that's the kind of market it's in. But you can't. The music's got far too much attitude to it, and I love that challenge of thinking outside the box of what I'm going to write the songs about. And I've had to change the way I couldn't sing that kind of Paul Rogersy bluesy style the same Kings of Mercia. I've had to kind of think about how I want to sound as the Kings of Mercia singer, as opposed to Steve Overland, the FM singer or whatever. So it's much rawer the way I sing the songs to go with the music. It has to be, you know. And I just love the challenge. It's just been an amazing thing for me to do. And I'm looking forward to the next album, which hopefully Jim will start to write soon. And we just find it like I've just been on tour. Jim sent me a message. He said, I've just had the album on, Steve. He said, what a marvelous piece of work it is. We should both be very proud. We are very proud of it.
Mm.
We think it's a great band.
Yeah. And talk a little bit more about that creative process. I mean, Jim is so prolific in his writing, and it does tend to lean toward that heavier, darker vibe.
Yeah.
Do you wait to hear that before you create a lyric and a melody, or do you have like some stuff in a notebook where you're like, well, this didn't work for FM, but maybe it'll work for this?
No, I actually absolutely wait until I get the music. Because to me, the music, if you think of something, I mean, Aftermath came to me and I'm thinking, wow, it's the darkest song I've ever worked on. And so I thought, it has to be about something dark. So I thought the end of the world's fairly dark. So that's what it does for me. I hear the music and it inspires me to come up with, if there are any relationship songs with Kings of Mercia, like Wrecking Ball from the first album,
Mhm.
their anger. They're not, I want you back, you left me, I'm sad. They're angry songs. And the song Kings of Mercia songs all have real angst and they're anthemic, I think. They're anthemic rock songs. And Jim's, I mean, to be honest with you, Jim's never sent me anything through that has been rejected from records.
Mhm.
Everything he sends me is of such a high standard and sounds like a produced record. He's a very, very talented man, and one of the nicest
Well,
guys you could ever work with. He's fantastic. So, hello, he's still there. Hello.
I I lost you
Oh, you're
for a
back.
second. Are you
Oh,
back?
oh, sorry, my man. So I was just saying,
Yeah,
I
there we
live in the
go.
middle of I live in the middle of the British countryside, so anything can happen.
Mm.
So basically, Jim is just such a great guy to work with. He's very prolific. He's really, really nice guy. He's
Mm.
he's got no side to him. He's just a really, really easy person to make good music with. He really is.
Mm. And we talked a little bit about how busy all of you guys are, but now that you have these two records and they've been received so strongly from, public and press and everyone else, and you have a third one hopefully on the way, have you guys thought about marking off some time in the next year or two for live dates or even festival stuff?
Absolutely. We've talked about it all the time, and it's something that I think this band will come alive when people see it live, because of the anthemic nature of the songs. To be able to do the festival thing that you've mentioned, that was a great
Mm.
call. That would be fantastic for a band like this because you can maximize your impact very quickly on festivals,
Mm.
So if we could do that, we've talked about it, we'd all love to do it, and I think it needs to be seen as a band because with the lineup it has, I think it would be incredible.
Mm.
So definitely something to look out for in the future, without a doubt.
I think certain bands and certain records are meant to be heard live.
Yeah,
And when we sit back and listen to both of these Kings of Mercia records, and knowing the performer you are and having seen Jim live a bunch of times, you visualize what it's going to be to have all of you guys
yeah,
doing this.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's exactly the same for me.
Yeah.
That's how I visualize it. I mean, to have us doing a like Download or a massive festival in the States or what, some of those massive, huge festivals. I just think the band would come alive. I think it would be an amazing thing to do. So it's definitely something in the forefront of my mind to do, in the future. I know it is in Jim. So it's something we'll try and get together, definitely, you know.
Yeah. And earlier this year, you mentioned how FM put out a new record, Old Habits Die Hard.
Yeah.
And one thing I love is that the work you guys have done since reforming in 2007 rivals, if not surpasses, the stuff you did in the classic era of the band.
Oh man,
And
that's nice to hear. Thank you for that. Yeah,
there
great.
aren't a lot of bands that you could say this far into their career, you're still putting out vital music. Do you feel that there's still a lot more to go with FM?
Very definitely. And that's very nice to hear you say that, and that's just been generally that's why the band still can tour the world and still have the following they have. Because although we have that legacy, we've been going for 40 years now, for me, it's all about what you do next.
Mm.
And it's all for me personally, it's all about what I do next. Hence Kings of Mercia,
Mm.
hence all the things I do. It's all about keeping on top of your game, really. I guess that's the way I would put it. And for me, writing songs is still probably my most pleasurable thing. I love doing it and recording them. From that idea you have in your head, that's just in your head, to it being there in front of everybody else, and you're saying, this is what I was thinking, and you can play it to somebody when you've recorded it. That still excites me the same way. So FM are very much a band. We're now doing another album. We're on another album out next year. Next year's touring's already just about done, booked and finished. So
Nice.
they drive us hard, because we're so young. That's what it is, So basically they get the whole schedule together, the management and our promoters, and then say, right, these are the tours. You get on with the album. So we need to have an album done by early next year, and we started it before we went away to Spain. So we're well on our way. We have the songs. It's just now finding those slots to go in the studio and put it down, But
Mm.
that's great for you to say that, because it is all about. I think it's all about your next record. You can't really, in this day and age, you can't really afford to let your standards slip. In
Mm.
my opinion, So yes, Tough It Out was a great album. It did very well for the band, and the early albums did, and but I always want the next record to be the best one we ever make.
Mm.
So that's what I'll be striving for with this one too.
Can't wait. And just digging back a bit, one thing I've always wanted to ask you about if I had the chance, a little piece of rock lore is your pre-FM band Wildlife with your brother Chris and
Yeah,
Simon Kirk and Phil Susan. You guys recorded the track Shot in the Dark.
we
The
did.
band breaks up. Phil goes to Ozzy. Ozzy has a song called Shot in the Dark.
Yeah.
What's the actual story behind that?
Oh, we haven't got time for that one, I'm afraid. But basically, we wrote the song. We were going to do a second album, Wildlife. We were signed to Swan Song, managed by Peter Grant, Led Zeppelin's management,
Mm.
everything. It was all in place to do a second album. Shot in the Dark was one of the first songs written for that album. Phil then went away, and the next thing I knew, I was I think, at my parents' house visiting, and there was a TV show called The Tube, and I was in the kitchen, and I suddenly heard Shot in the Dark on the TV with Ozzy Osbourne singing it. So Phil had taken the song, as I believe, and said it was totally his song. I mean, Ozzy did change the lyric to
Mm.
suit more his style,
Yeah.
but the melodies are all the same. And it's one of those things, Phil took the song. You can do all this thing where you go, we did it on the BBC over here. It's recorded by Tommy Vance on the show, and it's a very similar version of the song.
Mm.
All the chords are written by my brother and stuff like that, and very, very. It was a bit like, oh right then, because I didn't know the story really until Sharon Osbourne contacted me and said that Phil had taken the song to Ozzy, saying that it was totally his song.
Hmm.
So that's how it happened. It's all in the past, and for me, you can dwell on these things, but it's not worth it. You just have to get on with your career, and I do pretty well. I have a lovely life, so I'll just put all that stuff behind me.
Hmm. Well, we've been spending some time here with Steve Overland. The band is Kings of Mercia. The record is called Battle Scars. It's out everywhere now. It's sure to be, as we get to the end of the year, on everyone's top 10 list. It's a great
Thank
record.
you.
Steve,
Thank you.
thank you so much. It's been a pleasure getting to talk with you for a little bit.
Absolutely, you've been fantastic. It's been lovely to meet you, and I'll speak to you soon. Speak to you for the next record, definitely.
You know it. Thank you,
Yeah.
Steve.
All right, my
Bye.
man. You take care. Yeah.
You
Speak to you
too.
later. All right. Bye bye. Bye bye.